Our family does hard things.
In a life firmed by cliche,
We say June 10th was the day the world stopped turning.
hard things are not out of the box for the Fanko family.
I was actually here at Riverside. We got the call about the accident, went to the hospital, and they said, you know, your daughter's stable. Timmy was not expected to survive.
Life changed in a second. Now, the past 4 months have been a collection of strength and a miracle of moments.
When they got to the accident scene, they thought he was already dead. He was completely crushed in the car, and the extent of his injuries and the amount of blood loss, they thought that he was already gone. And my daughter, Anna, was in and out of consciousness and vomiting and kept saying, someone help my brother. Someone please help my brother. And they finally got a hand in there and found that he still had a pulse, but it took an hour to get him out of the car. And he's such a fighter because he stayed alive during that hour, but they didn't think he was going to make it on the Aeromed flight.
Timmy was 11 years old. He and his 17-year-old sister, Anna, were T-boned on N37 in Berry County. The point of impact at 55 miles an hour was right where Timmy sat.
And finally, a nurse came to get me, and they said, they're bringing him off the helicopter. He's still alive. You can come see him quickly. And he was laying out in the trauma unit, his little broken body there. And my first thought was, okay, I need to pray. And I laid my hands on him and I prayed out loud for everybody in that room that was going to treat him.
Timmy had bilateral fractured femurs, his left arm, wrist, and jaw broken, his legs degloved from the hour that it took to pry him from the car, a skull fracture, and a level 3 traumatic brain injury affecting the brainstem.
I had resigned myself to the fact that I might not see Timmy alive again. We brought his siblings to the hospital the next day to see him. We wanted to make sure that they all got to see him one more time.
When doctors could finally update the family, it was devastating. The hope was to have Timmy home by Christmas with constant care and the knowledge that he would remain in a minimally responsive state for the rest of his life.
Almost there.
That is Timmy Fanko, now 12. And yes, he is still running alongside Mom.
We were told by so many doctors and nurses at Helen DeVos and at Mary Free Bed that there is not a medical explanation for the recovery that he has made.
It hasn't been steps Timmy's taken in his recovery, they're strides. He opened his eyes, though despondent, 5 days after the accident. He was moved to Mary Free Bed 11 days after, still unresponsive. And on Friday, July 1st, his first word, Mom.
Can you say Mom? And I hadn't heard his voice since the accident. But the look in his eyes was completely different. Like he knew who I was. Can you say Dad?
Dad.
And Dad. Oh, one of the best things ever. When he was little, every night when I tucked him into bed, I would say, I love my Timmy.
I love my mom.
And he would say, I love my mommy. And when he was in the coma, every time I walked past his bed, I said, I love my Timmy, knowing that he couldn't respond. The Friday that he woke up after surgery, that night before I turned off the lights in his Mary Free Bed room, I said, I love my Timmy. He said, I love my mommy. And he was back.
Not just back, but thriving. And though his road to recovery is still long and difficult, Timmy has defied his injuries, and that little broken boy is now just a boy again.
So he thought that was cool once he was awake and they were doing dressing changes because it was open to it was just the bone and the tendon that was left. All the rest of it was missing. And he figured out he could freak out the nurses by wiggling his toes when they were doing dressing changes and made the tendon jump around. So he had his sister take a video of it. Like, that's so 12-year-old boy right there.
A family motto of words reflected in their actions. Doing hard things. Timmy's back to the trampoline, riding his bike, swimming. He finished his first cross-country meet just a week ago.
And to see him just take off down that road and cross that finish line, and We didn't know if we'd ever see him cross the finish line again.
And now, that's the goal for Sunday. On October 16th, Timmy will run the Grand Rapids Half Marathon, just 4 months after the accident that should have killed him.
The goal is just to finish, but he's going to be my running buddy again, and we're going to do a hard thing. I'm really looking forward to seeing him cross that finish line.
Hard things have a relative meaning for the Fankos. Timmy turned 12 in the hospital, and friends threw him a massive party with thousands of rubber duckies because he's a Jeep fan. If you know, you know. So now he hands out rubber duckies to people who have made an impact on his life. I got a rubber ducky, and I have to imagine that there are going to be plenty of rubber duckies lining that course on Sunday. The one thing that struck me about Timmy while we were doing this interview is he's just a boy.
Yeah.
He's just a boy who has been through a lifetime of pain.
With a big smile on his face.
Yeah.
That smile and that little grin, kind of embarrassed that he said, "I love you, Mom."
He loves his mom.
Yes,
oh
he does.
my
I
gosh.
mean, she spent every night at the hospital except one for the 6 weeks.
Wow.
So they've been through a lot. When you talk about running a marathon and how many people are training for it this weekend and how hard it's been for them, the hardest part for the Fankos has been to get to the starting line.
Yeah.
And they're there. So it's just a matter of finishing now.
Oh, they'll finish. You know they will.
Yeah. Thanks, Case.